Hello, it's Greg again, and today we are going to talk about fuck all. I have no idea what to talk about, if I'm perfectly honest, but I think what we're going to talk about is maybe about whether or not how to approach console games and consoles when as it comes as a PC gamer. Because I used to get all the PS4s, not the PS4s, all the PlayStations, like 1, 2, 3. Grew up with them. But I didn't get the fourth one because by that time I got a PC and most of my friends had a PC. Now, I would say that it's worth buying a PC just because in the long run it is a hell of a lot cheaper than console. You don't pay for the online services. You don't pay like 40 quid every game that comes out, sort of thing. Like, you can buy games from as little as like 20p up to £200, sort of thing. And I would say that is a big advantage of PC gaming. But I think the main thing about console is the fact that you get it if your friends are on it. The online, you're kind of confined. You expect every game to work that goes on it. Whereas on PC, some games will work better than others. Whereas console is designed for that. That does mean that it is a drawback as well with consoles. Consoles, you can't upgrade a console. You have to buy a new console to get better. But one thing that they have done is in recent years they've allowed you to actually put in extra hard drives so you can have a bigger storage. But that's it. You have to buy a new console. Now, the fact that it can run every game that comes out on it is good and bad. When it comes to consoles, you're kind of restricted to what the software allows, sort of thing. Like, if there's modding, it's not really a console known thing to mod games, whereas on PC you can. When it comes to sort of, like the indie titles, even though Microsoft and PlayStation alike have put more effort into like raising up indie titles, they live mostly on Steam on PC. Now, there's two sides to this. PC is good. It's a little bit more expensive and you have to upgrade hardware. Well, you don't have to, but to stay ahead of the game you have to upgrade your CPU or your GPU, most likely, your hard drive, your RAM, stuff like that. Every so often you have to upgrade that. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sort of games work better on some specs than other specs, and it's a bit mishmash. But it's a bit more future-proof than a console is. Console, you spend 300 quid, say, and you get this low-spec, well, mid-spec PC that allows you to play all the games that they're going to release for it, with some exceptions. But every 10 or so years, like, the stuff starts looking outdated. Like, if you look at PS3 stuff now, it's still kind of modernish, but some of the earlier games are kind of look a bit outdated. PC don't have that problem. PC, you can play the old games. You can play games from like the 90s that will run alright, depending on if you got DRM and shit. But they work. You can get a whole selection of games. And the thing is, they're a lot cheaper. So games, communities, and future-proof, and the fact that online is free, I'd say is 4 main points for getting a PC. The hardware itself can be expensive. The cons to getting a PC is it can be expensive. Some of the stuff might not work. It might be a bit harder to use, sort of thing. Like you have to use a mouse and keyboard, but you can get controllers. Like the PS4 controller works. All the Xbox controllers work, apart from the first one. But well, it probably works. Don't quote me on that. But those things are 3 downsides, I guess. Now, console. Let's start with the downsides. You're restricted to having that console. You can't upgrade it unless you pay another 200 odd quid or 400 quid or however much to get a new one in like 10 years time. The games are restricted. They're restricted to like a certain FOV. They're restricted to a certain frame rate and quality, which is a bit of an annoying thing. But I guess it helps with porting it over and that, and it makes it so that the console can actually run it. What else? So it's you can't upgrade it. Restricted on games. The pricing of games is very expensive. Like the new Switch that's coming out, you're paying 50 quid for Skyrim, which is just basically a modded version of the normal Skyrim that it was, because it's remastered. On PC, you can get it for £2.50 in sales. There's nothing much more to say about that. You can get that, or in other sales, you can get it for the remastered for 20 quid. Indie titles aren't as relevant on consoles, because it doesn't like No Man's Sky and shit like that, but it's with the third point is that the cost of them is expensive. You have to pay a lot more money to it, and so indie titles are usually more shown on PC because you can buy them for like 3 quid or something. Now the good points of the console is that all games that you get on it will run, most likely. What else? You get free games during the paying for online, I guess. That might be a thing. What else? Basically, it's all down to preference. If you got a lot of friends playing console, it's good to get a console. But it is a more expensive option in the long run. Not because the hardware is more expensive, but the software. The games you're paying a lot more for than you are for games on PC. Which is a bit of a problem. Also, you're kind of restricted with the choice of games as well. Because most people... that's one thing. Exclusives. PC doesn't really necessarily have exclusives, but there are good exclusives on PlayStation. Xbox, not so much, because with Xbox, they've started to port games over to PC for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe they're trying to aim more for PC, because obviously their Xbox didn't do that well, and they're kind of getting rid of their exclusives anyway. But PlayStation have got good exclusives. Last of Us is good. Uncharted is good. Now, one last thing to say about that. So it's all down to preference, okay? So if you got more friends and you don't mind spending more money on games, getting less games, but making sure that the games actually work, you should get a console. If you want modding, if you want a lot more choice, cheaper games, but the risk of sort of having it not work if you haven't got the right hardware specs and stuff like that, then get a PC. But I will say one exception to this is the Nintendo. Nintendo have backed themselves into sort of like a niche market, I'd say. And with that, I mean, they don't compete with anyone. It is a console, but it's not on the same level. The games are expensive, yes, but they make mostly first party games, so they're mostly exclusive. So you got people like that like Mario, Zelda, all that stuff. And the way they make their consoles is a bit unique. So like the Wii, that had motion controls, which no other console at the time had, and Nintendo sort of like stuck with that market, and that was good. And then they had the Wii U, which kind of was a flop, but the idea of having a screen in your thing was there. It was the ground workings of a Switch. Now the Switch looks really good. As a home console, I'd say it won't do well. The idea, if it was just sort of, it was a home console, it wouldn't work. It'll be another Wii U. But the fact that it's movable, you can take it out and you can play anywhere. That's a unique selling point for it. Now, I think that the downside to the Switch is the lack of games that they've got on launch. They will have a lack of games, and for some reason they're making people pay for online when it's fully fledged. But it's alright. I think they're going to do alright, because the fact that it's such a unique console, and it's an in-between. It's a portable console, which doesn't compare to PC in that, because you can't really move a PC around. Laptops, yeah, but there's no fun in laptops sort of thing. It's the same thing. It's just you can't play it on the go sort of thing with a laptop, really. Like if you're walking around or sort of in a park, it's better to not use a laptop. So the idea of the Switch is really good with that. But yeah, I think that's about it, really. It's a bit of a random video, but it's a bit of a filler, to be honest. I didn't know what the fuck to talk about. And I said that I would start making these face videos more often. So yeah, hope you like it. I know it's sort of encroaching onto Matt King's territory a bit, but I might try and do a bit more like this, but more like Matt King, but more aimed towards PC, because with him he does like console stuff, so you should go check him out. But with us, me, we mostly play PC games, because we kind of like had the phase of stuff of playing on console, and we've moved over to PC, and it's very hard to move from PC back to console, I feel, because of the differences. My preferences is I like a large range of games. I like spending little on games. All my friends play on PC, well, most of them, and the options there. And like right now, my PC is good spec. If you start off with like a low spec PC, then you might be a bit demoralized from that, and you might switch over to console from time to time, which is what I did when I had a laptop. It wasn't that good, so I would play PS3 as well. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments down below, and I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, RCS, and I'll see you next Friday for another weird video about something. I don't fucking know. This also might be out a bit late, because as of today I'm playing games with which there's going to be a good week recap on Monday coming up, so keep your eyes peeled for that one, because we're going to do a segment of free-to-play games that we played this week, which is very good. We had a rating. Some of the games didn't record properly, but a lot of them did, and I'm going to try and make like a little montage bit sort of thing where we play some of it, and who knows, we might actually record some more in the future. Kieran's been talking about the fact that he wanted to record some videos, which he might do, which will be good. I'll link his YouTube when he starts doing that as well. I think he's in like the bio thing. Anyway, so hope you enjoyed. I shall see you next time.